In this video, we're going to show you how to install a front wheel hub on your Jeep Wrangler located behind your front brakes. Using a 19mm socket, let's go ahead and loosen and remove our lug nuts. Once we have the lug nuts removed, remove the wheel and tire, set it aside. We want to remove our brake caliper here. It's going to be two 10mm slide pin bolts. There's one up top here, one right here. Let's go ahead and loosen and remove those. Use a pry tool, and we want to slide our brake caliper off. I'm going to break this free a little bit. It might be a little corroded. Once you get the top free, we're going to go ahead and pull this upward. Slide this off. At this point here, we're going to use our caliper hanging hook here. We're going to hook this here, set it up top to hold that up and out of the way. We want to remove our brake rotor from the hub assembly. And slide that off. Now on the center here, there is a cotter pin that goes through the axle. You're going to use a pair of pliers. Now if yours has these two legs here, just going to try and pinch these together. I'm going to grab the head here and we're going to twist this. We want to try and pull this out. Now at this point here, our cotter pin is pretty much just rusted beyond recognition here. We're going to use a punch to go ahead and drive that through the axle and get rid of that cotter pin. Once you remove the cotter pin from the axle, go ahead and remove the locking crown nut right here and set that aside. Using a 36mm socket, go ahead, loosen and remove the axle nut. Once you have that off, we want to remove the two washers inside here. On the back side of our wheel hub, there's going to be three 13mm bolts securing the hub to the knuckle. There's one here, one at 12 o'clock, and one on the other side. We're going to go ahead and use our ratchet. I'm going to use our ratchet and socket here to go ahead and loosen this here. Once you have all three loose, go ahead and remove the bolts. Once you have these three bolts out, we're going to go ahead and work on the front side and pull the hub out of the knuckle. Now we're just going to use our hammer and hit the back side of the hub itself, separating it from the knuckle. Remember, with the position of your backing plate, this is going to be critical to installation. Remove your backing plate. Now we're on the inside of the knuckle itself where the hub is going to go. I'm going to use some 400 grit sandpaper and I'm going to gently clean out the inside here. I want to make sure that when we install the new hub that it's nice and clean and it slides in without any resistance. You also want to go ahead and make sure that the flange itself here on the knuckle is clean of any defects. And give this a spray with some spray solvent to clean it up. I'm going to apply some anti-seize spray. Take your backing plate, line that up in the correct position. Grab your wheel hub, slide it over the axle. You're going to work that into the knuckle. Let's go ahead and grab our 3 bolts, and we're going to insert them through the back of the knuckle and thread them into the wheel hub. And get our bolts all started in here. I like to thread them in as far as you can by hand. Once I have them all as far as I can by hand, I'm going to go ahead and follow up with the ratchet, and we'll just snug these down for now until we can torque those into place. Go ahead and torque these down to 75 foot-pounds. Install the large main washer and the other spring washer there. I'm going to install the axle nut. Install 2 lug nuts. I'm going to grab the passenger side wheel and I'm going to rotate this out. I'm going to use these lug nuts to protect the threads. Then we're going to torque down our axle nut to 175 foot-pounds. Now that we're torqued, go ahead and install the castle lock there. We're going to feed our cotter pin through. I might have to move this around a little bit to get these tabs to line up properly. Install your cotter pin. Use a wire brush. I'm going to clean the metal slides here. And do the bottom one as well as the top. I'm going to use a flat file. I want to clean this up. We have some scaly rust here. After you file that, go ahead and give it a cleaning with some spray solvent. Wipe it down. On a brake caliper, we want to go ahead and remove the old brake pads. Sometimes you can give these a bonk with the hammer. I'm going to take the pad that goes inside here. I'm going to pop that into place. I'm going to use a C-clamp here. And what we're going to do is we're going to slowly compress the piston back into the caliper. So you're going to slowly turn the clamp here. You can see the piston going back into the housing. Once that's fully seated and that clamp stops moving, go ahead and remove, pop out the pad, and you can see that the piston is seated in here. The next thing I want to pay attention to are the 2 slider pins here. You can move these back and forth. Sometimes you can't. It's rusted inside, so you're going to have to dismantle it. You're going to push the slide pin through, pull it out of the rubber boot like that, set that aside. Now the boot itself, on this particular model, the boot is one piece. From here, goes right through the caliper and out the other side. So just kind of like pull and wiggle this around a little bit, break it free from any rust. And then you can normally pull it right through. Now I want to go ahead and inspect the inside of this port right here. Most of the time the resistance for the slider pin is due to rust buildup inside here. It pushes on this here, and then the slide pin inside has resistance on it. So you definitely want to make sure that the inside is clean. If not, go ahead and clean it up. You can use a drill bit, chase it out a little bit inside and clean it up. Ours is in excellent condition on this side here. So install, you're basically going to pinch and roll those boot a little bit on itself, feed it through. Once it comes through the other side, you continue to pull that out. Now you have that all set. You're going to repeat that for this side here. Now we don't have any resistance. We don't have to pull this rubber boot out. What we are going to do, we're going to apply a little bit of grease inside the boot. And do that on both of these here. Reinstall your slide pins. Basically put it in the rubber boot, wiggle it around a little bit, pop it in there, and then push it through to the other side and onto the rubber boot. And we have it. We're going to repeat and do the same for the other side. We're just going to give this a quick wipe down. We don't like to have a lot of excess grease on the outside because that will be a collector of dirt, and that's not good. I'm going to add a thin coat of grease to the backside of the piston right here. And then I'm going to add a little bit to the backside here where the other pad is going to sit. Now it's not going to be big clumps of it, it's just going to be a thin coating on there. We have our inboard pad right here, has the 3 prongs, pretty much lines right up. And you're going to pull this in. Make sure your gloves are clean before you do this. But go ahead and pop that in. On the upper portion here, we want to go ahead and slide our outboard pad into place. Push it up. The wings here will lock onto the caliper itself. Remove the lug nuts. Once you have these off, we'll go ahead and set those aside with the other 3. I'm going to spray some anti-seize on the face of the wheel hub itself, as well as the slides right here. Now this particular rotor is a cross-drilled slotted rotor, and the vanes here want to be scooping towards the front. You can line that up and push that on. Remove your caliper from your hanging tool. Line this up. Line up the tabs. Make sure they lock in. And the caliper should line right up here. And once you get those bolts started, you want to go ahead and thread them in. I would say several threads. You don't have to thread them in all the way by hand, but just definitely get those started in a few threads. You do not want to cross thread this here when installing it. Just go ahead and gently snug these down. Torque down the caliper slide pin bolts to 11 foot-pounds. Install your wheel. Once you have the wheel on the studs there, let's go ahead and install the lug nuts. Torque down the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Now that we have our lug nuts torqued down, hop into the vehicle, pump up the brakes, it might take about 3 pumps to go ahead and bring that pedal from the floor all the way back up to its normal position. Go ahead and take the vehicle for a test drive.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.